Good morning, students. This is our next part of history, the nationalism in India. Student, earlier video we have discussed about the civil disobedience movement and Dandi March, and you can see that how the British government became so much aggressive just to stop the civil disobedience movement, how they brutally repressed the women and the children. Now, how participants saw the movement. Now, we will talk about that how the variety of people who has taken part in the civil disobedience movement or the Dandi March movement, how they have seen the movement in their own way. Let us now look at the different social group that participated in the civil disobedience movement. Why did they join the movement? Now the question arises, why the different society people joined the civil disobedience movement? What were their ideals? Actually, what were their ideals that who inspired them to participate in the civil disobedience movement? Okay, what did Swaraj mean to them? Are the all people? Okay, because India involved educated, middle class, illiterate, labor. Are they all get the right idea behind the Swaraj? Now we will discuss it, students. You can see in the countryside. In the countryside, rich peasants community. Now we are talking about the civil disobedience movement. Okay, that in the village area, the rich peasant, like the Patidars of Gujarat. Okay, who were Patidar? The rich peasant of Gujarat were known as Patidars, and Jats of Uttar Pradesh. Okay, they belong to the rich peasant community. Were active in movement. Okay, being producer of commercial crops, because they used to produce the crops which is so demanded in the marketplace. They were very hard hit by the trade depression and falling prices. So what actually happened that when the prices just fall down, then they badly hit it by the poor economy progress. So that's why they also want to take part in the civil disobedience movement. As their cash income disappeared, they found it impossible to pay the government's revenue demand. Why they take part in that civil disobedience movement? As they were not getting any benefit from the market, that's why they were not able to give the taxes to the British government, and the refusal of the government to reduce the revenue. Okay, and they also at the situation, these rich peasants, Patidars and the Jats of Uttar Pradesh, have asked that there should be some leniency, okay, some relax in the collection of revenue from the British government. But British government denied, they refused this idea, and it led to the widespread resentment. That's why in a huge number these rich peasants community became aggressive, and they took part or they joined the civil disobedience movement. These rich peasants became enthusiastic supporters of the civil disobedience movement wholeheartedly. These all the rich peasants wholeheartedly, it means by soul and mind and the physic, they all participated, they all wanted to support the civil disobedience movement. And that's why organizing their community, they organized their communities. And at the time of focusing, reluctant members to participate in the boycott programs. For them, the fight for Swaraj was a struggle against high revenue. So these rich merchants have taken the meaning of Swaraj by their own benefit. According to them, they want to get rid of the high taxes or high revenue collection from the British side. In this way, they have taken this idea of Swaraj for their personal interest, okay, not the freedom. But they were deeply disappointed when the movement was called off in 1931. And when the civil disobedience movement stopped in 1931, when did the civil disobedience movement called off? In 1931, they became so disappointed, they became sad without the revenue resting being revised. So when the movement was restarted in 1932, in which year the civil disobedience movement restarted? The year is 1932. many of them refused to participate. And this was the reason that when again Mahatma Gandhi ji relaunched the civil disobedience movement in 1932, they were not participated in in the movement this time, as they were not get benefit in their relaxation in revenue collection from the British in 1931. So in 1932 they didn't take part in the civil disobedience movement. Whom we are talking about? The rich peasant group or the community which involved mainly Pattidars of Gujarat and Jat of Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Now the poorer peasantry were not just interested in the lowering of the revenue demand. Many of them were small tenants cultivating land they had rented from landlord. As the depression continued and their rent and cash incomes dwindled, the small tenants found it difficult to pay their rent. They wanted unpaid rent to the landlord to be remitted. And communists, apprehensive of raising issue that might upset the rich peasant and landlords, the Congress was unwilling to support no rent campaigns in the most places. So the relationship between the poor peasant and the Congress remained uncertain. Okay, now we will talk about how the poor peasant. Earlier we have talked about how the rich peasant had taken the idea of Swaraj. Okay, and now we are talking about the poor peasantry, the poor who were worked on the landlord's land. They were not having their own personal land. They were just a bonded labor. Okay, they used to do agriculture in the landlord's field. So there were no relaxation of tax in their life. That's why there were not a good relationship between the poor peasant and the Congress. It was uncertain. It was not clear for the poor peasantry group, so that they not wholeheartedly taken the participation in civil disobedience movement. Okay, now we will talk about what about the business classes. Now students, we will talk about that. What about the business classes? Okay, how did they relate to the civil disobedience movement? During the First World War, Indian merchants and industrialists had made huge profits and become powerful. Keen on expanding their business, they now reacted against colonial policies and restricted business activities. They wanted protection against imports of foreign goods, and a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage imports. To organize business interests, they formed the Indian Industrial Commercial Congress. Who had formed the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress? The business class, the Indian business class. Okay, in 1920. As after the First World War, they got so much of benefit. Okay, so had this situation that when they want to just expand their own business to get more and more profit, at that time when there was they wanted the protection against imports of foreign goods, and they want that there should be some protected policy launched so that they can stop the foreign goods import. And that's why, and Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FICCI. FICCI stands for, so full form of FICCI is Federation of the Indian Chamber and Commerce and Industries in 1927. So the business classes had made two types of platform to enhance, to expand their business, and it was FICCI in 1927, and it was Federation of the Indian Chamber of the Commerce and Industry in 1927, led by prominent industrialists like Purushottam Das Thakur Das. And this Federation was led by the famous and the prominent rich industrialist of India, and the name was Purushottam Das Thakur Das. Okay, he was the prominent businessman that time. And G.D. Birla. G.D. Birla. The industrialist attacked colonial control over the Indian economy and supported the civil disobedience movement. Okay, when it was first launched. So at the first time when the civil disobedience movement was launched, these business classes also taken part. Okay, they gave financial assistance and refused to buy or sell imported goods. They also give some financial support and they refuse to buy or sell imported goods, which was imported, from the other countries. Most businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when colonial restriction on business would no longer exist and trade and industry would flourish without constraints. But after the failure of the Round Table Conference, business groups were no longer uniformly enthusiastic. Okay, but when the second Round Table Conference was failed, so that was given a poor idea for the business people that they were not taken part in the civil disobedience movement wholeheartedly. They were apprehensive of the spread of militant activities and worried about prolonged disruption of business as well as of the growing influence of the socialism amongst the younger members of the Congress. So they were not happy after seeing the violent activities of the British government, and for a long period of time there was not any benefit or any good news which can expand their business. That's why they were not enthusiastically taken part in the civil disobedience movement second time. Okay, now it was the story of rich peasants, now the poor peasant, and then big business class. Now we will talk about the industrial working class. The industrial working class. We are talking about the industrial working class did not participated in the civil disobedience movement in large number, except in the Nagpur region. As the industrialists came closer to the Congress, workers stayed aloof. But in spite of that, some workers did participate in the civil disobedience movement. Workers didn't taken part in the industrial working classes, didn't taken part in the civil disobedience movement. Now, selectively adopting some of the ideas of Gandhian program, okay, like boycott of foreign goods. So they have just taken some important which were beneficial for them. They have taken these steps, but completely they were not involved in the, for you can say, as a follower of the civil disobedience movement. Okay, as some idea they have taken, we are talking about the industrial classes. Okay, that they have taken the idea that like boycott of foreign goods, they were ready to take this idea as a part of their own movements against low wages and poor working condition, as it supports them that so that they can earn some money as they were getting very poor wages. There were strikes by railway workers in 1930. So for this they have done strike also in 1930, and dock workers, okay, who works in the ship, okay, in 1932 they have also went to the strike. In 1930, thousands of workers in the Chota Nagpur, okay, tin mines wore Gandhi caps and participated in protest rallies and boycott campaigns. Okay, but the Congress was but the Congress was reluctant to include workers' demand as a part of its program of struggle. But Congress was not taking their demands and they were not involving their personal demand in their mission. Mission, it means civil disobedience movement. If it felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces. That's why the industrial category and these working people thought that they were treated, they remain just aligned, separated from the movement or from the civil disobedience movement, as their demands were not involved in the civil disobedience movement or program. That's why the business class and the working class were not involved, as their personal beneficial demands were not involved in the Congress or the Congress leaders program like the civil disobedience movement. Now, another important thing in civil disobedience movement, it is so important, underline it, that another important feature of the civil disobedience movement was the large scale participation of women. That's why this movement is different from all rest of movement in the chapter. Earlier in Satyagraha movement, in the Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, in Dandi March, in civil disobedience, Dandi March also, that they hadn't taken part. Women hadn't taken part in any type of movement earlier. But when the civil disobedience movement started, the first time the Indian women taken part any type of political activities. That's why it is significant, you can say, movement in India. During Gandhiji's Salt March, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen to him. They participated too in protest marches, manufactured salt, and picketed foreign clothes and liquor shops. Many of the urban areas, these women were from high caste, families. In rural areas, they came from rich peasants households. So every category. When we are saying the first time the Indian women taken part in the civil disobedience movement, so rich class women also and common women also taken part. Now that in rural areas and the more developed areas, moved by Gandhiji's call, they began to see survival of the nation as a sacred duty of women. And now that's why, yet this increased public role did not necessarily mean any radical change in the way the position of women was visualized. Now the first time the women importance also seen by the people. Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after home and hearth, to be good mothers and good wives, and for a long time and Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. It was keen only on their symbolic presence. But at the same time, the Congress was not given any, you can say, any membership or any type of responsibility within the party. So there are so many drawbacks also within the Congress, that why sometimes these movements fails. Why they were not given the equality to the women to take part any type of movement. The very first movement was the civil disobedience movement, in which the women first time taken part. They came out from the houses, and even beyond that, they hadn't given any political responsibility to the women, to the single women within the Congress party. Now, the limits of civil disobedience. Now, we are going to discuss what are the limitations, what are the drawbacks. What are the limitations of the civil disobedience movement? As we can see that not all social groups were moved by the abstract concept of Swaraj. And one such group was the nation's untouchables. Yes, we cannot forget that when there was a call of Swaraj, where all the people, almost every community had taken part. Among them, the untouchables hadn't taken part the idea of Swaraj, who from around 1930s had begun to call themselves Dalit. They called themselves Dalit or oppressed. For long, the Congress had ignored the Dalits. For a long time, they ignored the Dalit people. For fear of offending the, conservative high caste Hindus. But Mahatma Gandhi declared that Swaraj would come for 100 years if untouchability was not eliminated. Okay, he called the untouchable Harijan. What name the Mahatma Gandhi has given to the untouchable? Harijan. Okay, now okay, or the children of God. Okay, the meaning of Harijan according to Mahatma Gandhi is children of God. Hari plus Jan. Okay, Hari we call to the God and Jan means people. So, children of God. Organize satyagraha to secure them entry into temples and access to the public wells, tanks, roads and schools. He himself cleaned toilets to dignify the work of the Bhangi. Okay, so according to Mahatma Gandhi ji, that satyagraha is also to give them respect to these Harijans, as earlier they were not allowed in the temples, okay, to use any public property like wells, tanks, roads, school. So many years back, students, really these community, these untouchables have treated very badly by their own Indian people. Okay, Thakurs or the landlords, they treated these untouchables just like we don't you can say behave with animals. Okay, in such a poor manner, they were not allowed to use any public property. To show this that they are also the children of God, Mahatma Gandhi ji himself cleaned his toilet to dignify the work of Bhangi, the sweepers, and persuaded upper caste to change their heart and give up the sin of untouchability. And he has given. So we can see that we are studying the nationalism in India. So whenever we talk about the unity, okay, for a good cause, I am talking about for a good cause, the unity should be there. Okay, yes, there are two types of causes. One for to achieve something, to do something constructive in our life, and other you know very well. So I am talking about for the constructive objective. So nationalism in India to get freedom from the British people. We didn't say that only some agitation, only some loss of life and property, and we have got the freedom. No, it seems very easy. Okay, it seems very easy to celebrate all the national day for some moment, to give some slogans, okay, to take a piece of sweet and to back to home. It seems very common thing in our life. But as an Indian, when we see that how the concept of nationality has seen so much of failure, ups and downs, then we cannot ignore that every single citizen was equally important that time, either the untouchables. Okay, so Mahatma Gandhi ji himself cleaned his toilet to show that, and he also suggested to the upper caste people that they have to change their mindset to these untouchable, because if they were having the concept of untouchability in their mind, might be possible that we cannot get progress. Okay, so as a human being, always remember, first we are human, then we are Indian, and then whatever name and whatever surname we are having. Okay, so first of all we are a human being, then we are Indian, and always proud to be Indian. Now, but many Dalit leaders were keen on a different political solution. But among these Dalit or among these untouchable, there were some educated people also, and they want that it shouldn't be the proper solution to improve their condition, as they have suffered so much, student. There is no doubt, not a single doubt, that how these untouchable, very humiliated life, they suffered too much. Okay, they suffered too much, and the reason are our own upper caste people. Here we are not talking about the British people, our own Indian upper caste people, how they just make their life hell, more than bad than hell. Okay, so Mahatma Gandhi ji said that so some educated Dalit class people thought that there should be some political measure adopted by the Congress. They began organizing themselves, demanding reserved seat in educational institution and a separate electorate that would choose Dalit members for Legislative Council. Underline that untouchable demanded the separate electorate and the reserved seat in within the Congress party, and they want their reserved position in educational institution also, because we know that politics is the area where we can change the shape of the future. Politics is the field where we get the powers to change the future, the condition of the citizen. That's why they want their reserved seat. And today though they are having in a government job also, they are having their reserved seat. Okay, so just to improve their their economic condition. Political empowerment, they believed, would resolve the problems of their social disabilities. Dalit participation in the civil disobedience movement was therefore limited, particularly in the Maharashtra, underline Nagpur region, where their organization was quite strong. Gave the name of the area where the Dalit organization was so strong. So these were Maharashtra and Nagpur region. Okay. So when we see that how the people have taken or participated in the civil disobedience movement, so the Dalit untouchable people were not ready to take part in the civil disobedience movement, as they want their separate electorate, they want their reserved seat in the educational institution, and then they want that their political empowerment should be done. Okay, so these are the, now you can see who were the role model for these Dalits that time. Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar, who organized Dalits into Depressed Classes Association in 1930. Who organized the Depressed Classes Association? Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar. Clashed with Mahatma Gandhi ji, he was not agree with the Mahatma Gandhi ji at the second round table conference by demanding separate electorates for Dalits. When the British government conceded Ambedkar's demand, Gandhi ji began a fast unto death. He believed that separate electorates for Dalits would slow down the process of their integration into society. Now, when the Bhim Rao Ambedkar ji demanded from Gandhi ji that there should be reserved seat in the political party or in Congress, within the Congress, so Mahatma Gandhi ji went for strike unto death. Okay, he was having the hunger strike unto death, and because he believed that it will weaken the spirit of civil disobedience movement. Ambedkar ultimately accepted Gandhi ji's position, and result was the Pune Pact of September 1932. So Pune Pact was signed between Ambedkar ji and Gandhi ji in 1932. It gave the depressed classes, later to be known as the scheduled caste, reserved seats in provincial and central legislative council. Okay, but they were to be voted by the general electorate. The Dalit movement, however, continued to be apprehensive of the Congress led rational movement. Okay, so in this manner Mahatma Gandhi ji and Bhim Rao Ambedkar both come to an agreement, and the agreement was known as a Pune Pact. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi ji has given some reserved seat in a provincial and the central legislative council to the reserved people, or you can say scheduled caste people. Okay, now we will continue this chapter in the further video. Till then, take care. Goodbye.